The glittering expanse of Rosin Station stretched before Elena Maris as she gazed through the observation deck's panoramic window. The massive orbital platform hung suspended against the jewel-toned backdrop of Nexus Prime, the hub planet that served as the heart of the Galactic Federation. From this vantage point, Elena could see the constant stream of vessels arriving and departing, sleek diplomatic shuttles, bulky cargo haulers, and everything in between. Beautiful, isn't it? A voice broke through her thoughts. Even after all these years up here, I never tire of the view. Elena turned to find Director Thalos observing her, his 4 eyes blinking in sequence, a sign of contentment in Archivian body language. The tall, willowy alien skin shimmered with bioluminescent patterns that pulsed gently beneath his translucent epidermis. It is, Elena agreed, though her mind had been far from aesthetic appreciation. I was actually thinking about the Boros delegation. They're late for the 3rd consecutive cycle. Thalos's bioluminescence dimmed slightly. The Borosians are a punctual species by nature. This is concerning. Precisely, Elena said, turning back to the window. And they're not responding to communications. Before Thalos could respond, Elena's comm unit chimed with an urgent alert. She glanced at the display and felt her stomach drop. "Emergency briefing in 10 minutes, she said, already moving toward the exit. The Arcturian colony on Vesta 3 has gone dark. Thalos's inner eyelids flickered rapidly. Alarm. That's the 4th world this month. I know, Elena replied grimly, and it won't be the last. The briefing room was packed with representatives from a dozen species by the time Elena arrived. The tension in the air was palpable, crackling like static electricity. As Nexus Prime's lead xenovirologist, her presence was required at all emergency health councils, though she often wished it wasn't. Politics and science made for uncomfortable bedfellows. High Commissioner Jackson Ryder, Earth's primary representative to the Federation, nodded to her as she took her seat. His perfectly tailored suit and diplomatic smile couldn't hide the worry lines etching deeper into his face with each passing day. Dr. Maris, he acknowledged, emphasizing her title as he always did in these settings. A reminder to the alien delegates that humans brought valuable expertise to the table. I'm afraid we have more bad news. The holographic display in the center of the room flickered to life, showing a 3-dimensional map of Federation space. Red markers pulsed ominously across multiple star systems. The quarantine zones have expanded, Commissioner Ryder continued. Vesta 3, the Boros homeworld, and now we've received reports from the aquatic colonies in the Tethys system. A collective murmur rippled through the assembled delegates. The Tethys system was on the opposite side of Federation space from the initial outbreak. That's impossible, rasped Delegate Silvex of the Draconid Confederation, scales bristling along her elongated neck. Our blockades were impenetrable. Nothing could have crossed that distance without detection. Evidently, something did, Elena interjected, studying the projection. The virus is spreading faster than our quarantine protocols can contain it. What do your tests show? Dr. Maris? Asked Mokhtar, the Uroxy representative. His massive frame seemed to fill half his side of the table. Methane-breathing apparatus hissing rhythmically. Elena accessed her datapad and transferred her findings to the central display. The virus continues to defy conventional classification. It crosses species barriers with unprecedented ease, adapting to each host's biology within hours of infection. She highlighted several molecular models. It attacks the immune system first, then systematically shuts down vital organs. The mortality rate remains above 90% for most affected species. Most? The word came from Cathari, the feline-like Meridian ambassador, her pointed ears flattening against her skull. Explain. Elena hesitated, knowing her next words would shift the course of the conversation. Humans appear to be largely resistant to the virus's effects. While we can contract and carry it, we rarely develop symptoms beyond mild discomfort. The room erupted into chaos. Accusations flew across the table, some veiled, others explicit. "Is this a human bioweapon?" demanded Silvex, venom sacs bulging beneath her jaw. "A convenient immunity, wouldn't you say?" hissed another delegate. Commissioner Ryder rose to his feet. "These accusations are both baseless and counterproductive. The Terran Alliance has already opened all research facilities for Federation inspection. We are as committed to stopping this outbreak as anyone." "More committed, perhaps," Elena added quietly but firmly, silencing the room with the intensity of her gaze. "Because if we don't find a solution soon, there won't be a Federation left to save." The gravity of her statement hung in the air. "What do you propose, Dr. Maris?" asked Director Thalos, his voice perfectly modulated to cut through the tension. Elena squared her shoulders. "I need more resources for my lab, unrestricted access to infected tissue samples from all affected species, and," she paused, "human volunteer blood donors." "Blood donors?" Cathari's whiskers twitched with curiosity. "Yes," Elena confirmed. "I believe something in human blood plasma may hold the key to understanding and potentially stopping this virus." As the meeting adjourned, Commissioner Ryder pulled Elena aside. "That was a dangerous move. Dr. Maris, you've just painted a target on every human in Federation space." Elena met his gaze unflinchingly. "We already had targets on our backs, Commissioner. At least now we have a purpose." She was halfway back to her lab when her private comm channel buzzed. Few people had access to this frequency. Her heart stuttered when she saw the message origin. Outpost Horizon, a remote human colony on the edges of charted space. The message was brief. Clinical. Confirmed cases 27. Quarantine protocols initiated. Medical supplies insufficient. Requesting immediate assistance. Beneath the official text was a personal note. "Elena, it's bad here. Marcus is among the infected. I don't think we have much time. Hana." Elena's knees nearly buckled. Marcus, her brother. The brother she hadn't spoken to in almost 7 years, not since their disastrous argument after their parents' funeral. He'd accused her of abandoning her family for her career, of hiding from grief in her sterile laboratories. She'd accused him of squandering his talents by retreating to the edge of civilization. Now he was infected with a virus that, theoretically, shouldn't harm humans, yet was somehow affecting a human colony. She changed course, heading not for her lab but for the station's docking bay. She needed a ship, and she needed it now. Director Thalos caught up to her just as she was requisitioning an emergency transport vessel. "Dr. Maris, where are you going?" he demanded, his normally placid voice tinged with alarm. "Outpost Horizon," she replied without looking up from the authorization form. "They've reported human infections. I need to collect samples." "Impossible. All non-essential travel to outlying colonies has been suspended." "This is essential," Elena insisted. "If humans are getting sick, it means the virus is mutating even faster than we thought. We don't have time for bureaucracy." Thalos's inner eyelids flickered rapidly as he processed this. "The Directorate won't approve this mission." "Then don't tell them," Elena said, finalizing the requisition with her thumbprint. "You have temporary authority over quarantine protocol. Use it." Thalos studied her for a long moment. "This is personal for you." Elena finally met his gaze. "Everything about this virus is personal. Director, for all of us." After a pause that seemed to stretch into infinity, Thalos pressed his own appendage to the authorization panel. "Take Dr. Kiva with you. Her immunological expertise may prove valuable." Elena nodded, relief washing through her. "Thank you. Don't thank me yet. Dr. Maris," Thalos replied, his skin patterns shifting to a solemn blue. "If the virus has found a way to fully infect humans, we may have just lost our only advantage." The journey to Outpost Horizon took 3 days in the compact research vessel. Elena spent most of that time reviewing data and running simulations, barely sleeping. Dr. Zara Kiva, a brilliant Solari immunologist with skin that seemed to absorb rather than reflect light, watched Elena with growing concern. "You need rest," Zara said on the 3rd day, sliding a nutrient pack across the lab table. "Exhaustion impairs cognitive function, basic biology." Elena looked up from her microscope, blinking away the fatigue. "I know. I need to be prepared when we arrive." Zara's completely black eyes studied Elena. The Solari had no visible pupils or irises, making their gaze particularly disconcerting to most humans. Elena had long since grown accustomed to it. "This colony," Zara said carefully. "You have connections there." It wasn't a question, but Elena answered anyway. "My brother. We haven't spoken in years, but he's there. He's infected." Understanding dawned in Zara's expression. The human immunity isn't absolute. Apparently not. Elena agreed grimly, which means either the virus has mutated significantly, or human immunity was never as complete as we thought. Zara finished. The ship's AI announced their approach to Outpost Horizon, interrupting their conversation. Elena moved to the viewport, watching as the small, forested planet grew larger. From orbit, it looked peaceful, lush green continents interspersed with azure oceans. Nothing to indicate the crisis unfolding on its surface. They docked at the orbital transfer station rather than landing directly at the colony. Quarantine protocols required decontamination before and after any planetside visit. As they prepared to board the shuttle, Elena checked her equipment one final time. "Remember," she told Zara, "we take samples, gather data, and evacuate critical patients if possible. No unnecessary risks." Zara nodded, securing her containment suit. "Understood." The shuttle ride was turbulent, the planet's atmosphere unusually disturbed for this season. When they finally touched down at the colony's landing pad, Elena was struck by the eerie silence. Outpost Horizon housed nearly 5,000 colonists, yet the central plaza was deserted. "Where is everyone?" Zara whispered, her voice amplified by the comm in her containment helmet. As if in answer, a lone figure emerged from the colony's medical center, also clad in protective gear. Elena recognized the decisive stride immediately. "Hana," she called over the comm. The figure stopped, then hurried toward them. "Elena, thank the stars. I wasn't sure they'd let you come." Dr. Hana Okafor had been Elena's roommate at university before choosing the Colonial Medical Service over a prestigious research position. They'd kept in touch over the years, which was how Hana had known to contact Elena directly when the outbreak reached Horizon. "What's the situation?" Elena asked as they walked briskly toward the medical center. "Critical," Hana replied, her voice tight. "We've lost 17 colonists already. 38 more are in advanced stages. We've converted the community hall into an overflow ward, but we're running out of supplies and personnel. Most of our medical staff are among the infected." "Symptoms?" Zara inquired. "It starts like typical human flu, fever, body aches, respiratory distress, but it progresses faster than anything I've ever seen. Within 48 hours, patients develop hemorrhagic symptoms, internal bleeding, multiple organ failure. Hana's voice faltered. "It's not a gentle death." Elena swallowed hard. "And Marcus?" Hana's pace slowed slightly. "He was among the first infected. He's fighting hard. Elena, but it's been 5 days." The medical center was a scene from a nightmare. Every bed was occupied, with makeshift pallets crowding the floors in between. The air was thick with the sounds of labored breathing and occasional moans of pain. Medical drones zipped between patients, administering what little comfort they could provide. Elena followed Hana through the chaos to a quarantine room at the back. Through the transparent barrier, she could see a man lying still on a bed, connected to various monitoring devices. His face was gaunt, skin ashen, but Elena would have recognized her brother anywhere. "Marcus," she whispered, pressing a gloved hand against the barrier. As if he'd heard her. Marcus's eyes fluttered open. They widened in recognition, and he struggled to sit up. "Don't," Elena said automatically, though he couldn't hear her. She turned to Hannah. "Can I speak to him?" Hannah activated the room's comm system. "Marcus, your sister is here. Try not to exert yourself." "Elena?" His voice was a rasp, barely recognizable. "You actually came." Elena fought back tears. "Of course I came. I'm going to help. Marcus, I promise." A ghost of his old smile crossed his face. "Always the hero." "I need to take some samples," she said, professional mode engaging as a defense against her emotions. "Your case could be crucial to understanding how this virus is affecting humans." "Still, putting science first," he murmured. But there was no bite to his words. Just exhaustion. "Science is how I'm going to save you," Elena replied firmly. "Just hold on a little longer." For the next 12 hours, Elena and Zara worked tirelessly, collecting samples from infected colonists and processing them in the colony's limited laboratory facilities. What they discovered was deeply troubling. "The viral structure has definitely mutated," Zara said, examining a holographic model of the pathogen taken from Marcus's bloodstream. "See this protein sequence? It's reconfigured to specifically target human immune cells." Elena nodded grimly. "It's learning, adapting to each species it encounters, then using that knowledge to become more effective against the next." "But how did it get here? Horizon isn't on any major trade routes." Elena frowned, reviewing the colony's shipping manifests. 3 weeks ago, they received a delivery of agricultural supplies from Nexus Prime. The shipment had previously stopped at Boros. "Patient zero?" "Possibly," Elena agreed. "But that doesn't explain why humans here are affected so severely, while those on Nexus Prime remain largely asymptomatic." The answer came to her in the middle of the night, as she was running comparative analyses between Marcus's blood samples and her own. The difference was subtle, but unmistakable. "Zara, look at this," she called, excitement momentarily overriding her exhaustion. The Solari scientist joined her at the display. "What am I seeing?" "Antibody production," Elena explained, highlighting a specific cellular response. "My blood is producing these specialized antibodies that neutralize the virus. Marcus's isn't." "But you're both human." "Yes, but I've been living on Nexus Prime for years, exposed to thousands of alien microbes daily. My immune system has adapted. The colonists here have been isolated, exposed only to Earth-derived pathogens." Understanding dawned in Zara's expression. "Their immune systems haven't been challenged in the same way." "Exactly," Elena said. "It's not that humans are naturally immune. It's that some of us have developed immunity through environmental exposure." "Can we synthesize these antibodies?" Zara asked. Elena was already reaching for a blood collection kit. "We can try, and if synthesis isn't possible, there's always direct transfusion." By morning, they had developed a treatment protocol using plasma from Elena's blood. The first recipient was Marcus, his condition now critical. "This might sting a bit," Elena told him as she prepared the injection. She'd insisted on administering it herself, despite Hannah's offer. "Worse than dying," Marcus managed, his attempt at humor undermined by the blood speckling his lips. "Don't talk like that," Elena said sharply. "This is going to work." As the antibody-rich plasma entered his system, Marcus closed his eyes. "Remember when we were kids, how you always fixed my scraped knees?" Elena smiled despite herself. "You were reckless, always climbing too high, running too fast. And you were always careful, calculating the risks." His breathing hitched painfully. "We balanced each other." "We still do," Elena insisted, watching the monitors anxiously for any sign of improvement. We just forgot for a while. The hours that followed were the longest of Elena's life. She divided her time between monitoring Marcus and working with Zara to produce more of the antibody treatment for other colonists. By the end of the day, they had treated 12 of the most critical patients. Results were promising but inconsistent. Some patients showed immediate improvement, while others responded more slowly. 3 didn't respond at all. Elena worked frantically to understand the variables, barely registering when her comm unit began signaling an incoming transmission from Nexus Prime. Dr. Maris, Director Thalos's voice came through, distorted by distance and interference. Your presence is required back at headquarters immediately. Elena frowned. I'm in the middle of critical treatment trials. Director, whatever it is, will have to wait. It cannot wait, Thalos insisted, his normally calm demeanor fractured. The situation has escalated. The Draconid Confederation has implemented what they're calling protective isolation of human populations within their territories. Protective isolation, Elena repeated, cold dread settling in her stomach. You mean internment? Essentially, yes. And other factions are considering similar measures. There are rumors of human ships being turned away from Han human ports. Commissioner Ryder is trying to maintain diplomatic channels, but fear is winning. Elena glanced toward the ward where Marcus lay. His condition finally stabilized. I can't leave now. Thalos, I'm close to a breakthrough here. The antibody treatment is working. That's precisely why you must return, Thalos urged. Bring your research. Bring samples. Bring infected humans if you must. But the Federation needs proof that humans are the solution, not the problem. After a long moment, Elena nodded. I'll leave in 24 hours. That gives me time to stabilize the remaining critical patients and prepare transport for those who should continue treatment under observation. Make it 12, Thalos said. The Directorate is convening an emergency session to vote on mandatory quarantine for all human worlds. The call ended, leaving Elena staring at the blank screen, the weight of billions of lives, human and non-human alike, pressing down on her shoulders. She found Zara in the lab, analyzing the latest batch of treatment results. We need to accelerate our timeline. How quickly can we produce enough antibody treatment for the remaining critical patients? Zara looked up, her dark eyes reflecting the laboratory lights. With the current equipment, 8 hours minimum. Why? We're being recalled to Nexus Prime, Elena explained tersely. Apparently, humans are being blamed for the outbreak, again. Understanding crossed Zara's features. The Federation fears what it doesn't understand. Fear makes people stupid. Elena agreed grimly. And we can't afford stupidity right now. They worked through the night, producing enough of the treatment to stabilize the remaining critical patients. By morning, even Marcus was showing significant improvement, his fever broken and internal bleeding stopped. You're leaving, he said when Elena came to check on him. It wasn't a question. I have to, she replied, adjusting his medication drip. But I'll be back when this is over. Marcus caught her hand, his grip weaker than she remembered, but still firm. I know you will. Go save the galaxy. Ellie. The childhood nickname brought a lump to her throat. Try not to catch any more interstellar plagues while I'm gone. His smile was tired but genuine. No promises. The journey back to Nexus Prime was tense. Elena spent every waking moment analyzing the data they'd collected, refining her understanding of the antibody mechanism. Zara worked alongside her, her presence a silent but steadying force. What will you tell the Directorate? Zara asked as they approached the hub planet. Elena looked up from her notes. The truth, that the virus is mutating faster than we can track it, that human immunity isn't innate but developed, and that a treatment derived from human antibodies shows promise but needs further development. And if they don't listen, Elena's expression hardened. Then I'll make them listen. Rosin Station was a different place from the one they'd left. Security had been intensified, with armed guards at every docking port. As they disembarked, Elena noticed the guards were exclusively non-human. The few humans visible in the arrival area moved quickly, heads down, avoiding eye contact. Commissioner Ryder was waiting for them, flanked by his own security detail. His face was drawn, the diplomatic mask slipping to reveal genuine worry. "Dr. Maris, Dr. Kiva," he greeted them tersely. "We need to move quickly. The Directorate session begins in 1 hour." As they hurried through the station corridors, Ryder briefed them on the deteriorating situation. "The virus has reached 17 more worlds since you left. The death toll is in the millions now. Quarantine efforts have failed completely." "And the human situation?" Elena asked. Ryder's jaw tightened. "Worsening by the hour. There have been incidents, riots, attacks on human establishments. 3 human ships were destroyed trying to leave Draconid space. They're calling it a quarantine measure." "It's genocide," Elena said flatly. "Yes," Ryder agreed grimly. "And it will only spread unless we can provide concrete evidence that humans are part of the solution, not the source of the problem." The Directorate chamber was packed to capacity, the air thick with tension and the varied respiratory emissions of dozens of species. Elena was directed to a witness podium, while Zara was escorted to a separate area designated for expert consultants. High Arbiter Zone, a massive gelatinous entity from the methane swamps of Tau Ceti IV, called the session to order. Its booming voice, translated through the chamber's acoustic system, echoed off the vaulted ceiling. "We face an unprecedented crisis," it began, pseudopods rippling with agitation. "The contagion now designated pathogen XJ7 threatens the very existence of our Federation. This emergency session will determine our collective response." What followed was a barrage of accusations and demands, most directed at the human delegation. Elena listened with mounting frustration as species after species called for human quarantine, trade embargoes, even talk of preventative measures that sounded disturbingly like calls for extermination. When finally given the opportunity to speak, Elena approached the central platform with datapad in hand. The chamber fell silent, hundreds of alien eyes fixed upon her. "High Arbiter, esteemed delegates," she began, her voice steady despite her racing heart. "I understand your fear. This pathogen defies our understanding and threatens all we hold dear, but acting on fear rather than facts will doom us all." She activated the holographic display, showing the molecular structure of the virus. Pathogen XJ7 is not of human origin. Its base structure contains elements incompatible with Earth's biochemistry. Moreover, it affects humans as well as other species, though often with delayed or reduced symptoms. Murmurs rippled through the chamber. Elena continued, advancing to the next slide showing the antibody treatment. "During my mission to Outpost Horizon, we discovered that humans who have lived in diverse xenobiological environments have developed specialized antibodies that neutralize the virus. Using these antibodies, we successfully treated critically ill human patients." "So humans require special treatment to save themselves?" interrupted Silvex, the Draconid delegate. "How does this help the rest of us?" Elena met the reptilian's gaze unflinchingly. "Because these same antibodies show activity against the virus in non-human tissue samples as well. With further development, they could form the basis of a universal treatment." The chamber erupted in a cacophony of voices and translator units struggling to keep pace. Some delegates appeared hopeful, others skeptical, a few openly hostile. "You expect us to believe that human blood will save us?" demanded Cathari, tail lashing behind her. "The same humans who arrived in our galaxy barely a century ago and have since colonized 17 worlds. I expect you to follow the evidence," Elena replied sharply. "Yes, human blood contains the foundation for a potential cure, Not because we're special or chosen, but because of a quirk of our evolutionary history and immune response. We got lucky. Now we have a chance to share that luck. High Arbiter Zoln raised a pseudopod for silence. What exactly are you proposing, Dr. Maris? Eleanor took a deep breath. A three-phase response. First, immediate establishment of production facilities for the antibody treatment, using volunteer human donors. Second, a unified research initiative to develop a synthetic version that can be mass-produced. Third, a galaxy-wide distribution network prioritizing the most severely affected worlds. And in exchange? Asked a Jovian representative, their methane sacs inflating with suspicion. In exchange, Elena said firmly, all hostile actions against human populations cease immediately. No more quarantines, no more destroyed ships, no more protective isolation. We work together, or we die separately. The debate raged for hours. Elena stood her ground, presenting evidence, answering questions, refuting accusations. By the time the session adjourned for deliberation, she was exhausted but hopeful. Commissioner Ryder found her in a quiet alcove, staring out at the hub planet below. That was quite a performance, he said, offering her a steaming cup of what smelled like actual Earth coffee, a rare luxury in Federation space. Elena accepted it gratefully. Not a performance, just the truth. Sometimes the truth needs a compelling delivery, Ryder observed. The Directorate is impressed. Even some of our most vocal critics are considering your proposal. Considering isn't enough, Elena said, sipping the coffee. We need action now. The virus won't wait for political consensus. Ryder nodded soberly. Which is why I've already authorized the conversion of 3 Terran Alliance medical frigates into production facilities for your antibody treatment. They'll be ready within 48 hours. Elena looked at him with newfound respect. That's surprisingly proactive. Commissioner. A hint of a smile crossed his face. I wasn't always a diplomat. Dr. Maris. I was a field medic during the Proxima Centauri conflict. I know when to wait for orders and when to act. Before Elena could respond, her comm unit chimed with an incoming message. It was from Zara. Text only. Lab. Now. Breakthrough. The research laboratory was a hive of activity when Elena arrived. Zara stood at the central workstation, surrounded by holographic models of cellular structures. What is it? Elena asked, hurrying to her side. Zara's normally impassive features were animated with excitement. I've identified the mechanism. It's not just the antibodies, it's the entire immune cascade they trigger. She manipulated the display, zooming in on a molecular interaction. The human antibodies bind to the virus here, but they also activate this receptor complex present in most Federation species. That triggers a secondary immune response that finishes what the antibodies started. A 2-phase attack, Elena murmured, studying the model. That's why the treatment worked better on some colonists than others. Those with stronger secondary immune systems recovered faster. Exactly, Zara confirmed. And I believe we can enhance this effect by adding a synthetic catalyst here. She indicated a point in the molecular chain. Elena's mind raced with implications. If this works, we could reduce the amount of human antibodies needed per treatment, make production more efficient. More than that, Zara said, eyes gleaming. With the right formulation, we could potentially create a preventative vaccine, not just a treatment. For the first time in weeks, Elena felt a spark of genuine hope. How quickly can we test this? I've already started preliminary trials using tissue samples. Zara replied, but we need more data, more diverse samples. Elena nodded decisively. I'll speak with Director Thalos about setting up a volunteer program, if we can get representatives from each major Federation species. Her comm unit interrupted with an urgent alert. The Directorate had reached a decision and was reconvening immediately. The chamber was eerily quiet when Elena entered. High Arbiter Zoln's massive form dominated the central platform. Pseudopods perfectly still, an indication of utmost seriousness among its kind. Dr. Elena Maris, it intoned, voice reverberating through the chamber. The Directorate has considered your testimony and evidence. By majority vote, we have decided to implement your proposed response to pathogen XJ7. Relief flooded through Elena, but it was short-lived. However, Zoln continued, there is a condition. The Directorate requires that all production and distribution of the human-derived treatment be placed under Federation control, not Terran Alliance oversight. Elena frowned. The logistics of treatment production require human donors. It makes sense for humans to... The decision is final. Zoln interrupted. Federation medical personnel will oversee all aspects of the program, including donor selection and treatment distribution. Something in the Arbiter's tone set off warning bells in Elena's mind. She glanced at Commissioner Ryder, whose expression had gone carefully blank, his diplomatic mask firmly in place. May I ask which Federation body will oversee this program? Elena inquired carefully. The newly formed Emergency Response Directorate, under the leadership of Chief Medical Officer Vex Orn. Elena stiffened. Vex Orn was a draconid physician known for his hardline views on interspecies medicine and his particular distrust of humans. Placing him in charge was like asking a pyromaniac to oversee fire safety. I must object, she said firmly. Dr. Vex Orn has publicly expressed views that would compromise his objectivity in this role. High Arbiter, Zoln's pseudopods rippled with what might have been irritation. Your objection is noted, Dr. Maris, but the decision stands. You will transfer all research data and treatment protocols to the Emergency Response Directorate by next cycle. As the session concluded, Elena found herself being subtly guided toward a side exit, away from the main chamber where press and delegates were gathering. Director Thalos fell into step beside her. This isn't right, Elena said quietly. Vex Orn will prioritize Draconid worlds and allies. Vulnerable populations will be left to die. I know, Thalos replied, his skin patterns shifting to a troubled gray. But challenging the Directorate's decision openly would only delay implementation of any treatment. So we just accept this? Thalos's 4 eyes blinked in sequence. Not contentment this time, but something more complex. There are official channels, Dr. Maris, and then there are other channels. Understanding dawned. You're suggesting we circumvent the Directorate. I'm suggesting, Thalos said carefully, that science should transcend politics, especially when lives are at stake. Elena studied her alien colleague with new appreciation. That sounds dangerously close to treason. Director. A ripple of bioluminescence, the Archivian equivalent of a shrug. Perhaps. Or perhaps it's the highest form of loyalty to the Federation's true principles. They parted ways at a junction, Thalos heading toward the administrative wing, while Elena continued toward the research sector. She was halfway there when a shadowy figure stepped into her path from a recessed doorway. Dr. Maris. The voice was familiar, though Elena couldn't immediately place it. A word, if you please. As the figure moved into the light, Elena recognized Cathari, the Meridian ambassador. The feline-like alien's fur was standing slightly on end, a sign of agitation in her species. Ambassador, Elena acknowledged cautiously. I'm rather busy at the moment. This won't take long, Cathari assured her, glancing around to ensure they weren't overheard. I wish to offer you alternative resources. Elena raised an eyebrow. I'm not sure I understand. The Meridian Collective disagrees with the Directorate's decision regarding treatment distribution, Cathari explained, voice low. We have medical facilities, transport vessels, and distribution networks that operate while independently of Federation oversight. You're offering to help us produce and distribute the treatment outside official channels. Elena translated. Cathari's whiskers twitched. a sign of affirmation. The virus has reached 3 Meridian colony worlds already. We cannot afford to wait while bureaucrats and politicians decide whose lives matter more. Eleanor considered the offer carefully. Working outside official channels carried enormous risk, both professionally and personally. But waiting for the Directorate's compromised program to take effect would cost countless lives. "I'll need access to your medical facilities," she said finally, "and a secure way to communicate with my team." Cathari's pupils narrowed with satisfaction. "Both can be arranged. Meet my aide at Docking Bay 47 in 3 hours. Bring only what is essential." As the ambassador melted back into the shadows, Elena's comm unit chimed again. This time, it was Zara. "Where are you?" the Solari scientist demanded without preamble. "Our lab is being locked down. Federation security officers are confiscating our samples and data." Eleanor cursed under her breath. "Vexorn isn't wasting any time. Can you secure any of our research?" "I've uploaded the core data to my personal storage," Zara replied, her voice tight with tension. "But they're taking the physical samples, including your blood samples containing the antibodies." "Get out of there," Elena instructed. "Meet me at my quarters in 20 minutes. Don't tell anyone where you're going." By the time Zara arrived, Elena had packed a small bag with essential equipment and personal items. She briefly explained the situation and Cathari's offer. "You realize this is likely a violation of at least 7 Federation regulations," Zara pointed out, though she was already checking her own equipment. "Probably more like 12. Elena agreed grimly. "But I don't see another option. Do you?" Zara's black eyes regarded her steadily. "No, but you should know that once we do this, there's no going back. Our careers in the Federation are over." Elena thought of Marcus, still recovering on Outpost Horizon, of the millions already dead and the billions at risk, of the panic and prejudice threatening to tear apart the fragile peace of the Federation. "Some things are more important than careers," she said simply. Zara nodded, a rare smile crossing her features. "Indeed they are. Shall we save the galaxy, then?" 3 hours later, they were aboard a nondescript transport vessel bound for Meridian space. Their official identities left behind along with any hope of a normal future. Ahead lay uncertainty, danger, and the monumental task of producing enough treatment to stem the viral tide sweeping across the stars. The Meridian Medical Facility was hidden within an asteroid field on the edge of Cathari's territory. From the outside, it appeared to be a standard mining operation. Inside was a state-of-the-art research and production center that would have made even the most well-funded Federation scientists envious. "We have been preparing for something like this for generations," explained Tyra, Cathari's chief medical officer, as she led Elena and Zara through the facility. "The collective believes in self-sufficiency. And secrecy, apparently," Elena observed, noting the lack of external communications equipment. Tyra's whiskers twitched with amusement. "Prudence, Dr. Maris. The Federation's history with non-conforming member states has not always been gentle." Over the next several days, Elena and Zara worked with the Meridian medical team to establish production protocols for the antibody treatment. Progress was swift, unhampered by the bureaucracy that had plagued their official research. "We've refined the synthesis process," Zara reported one evening, her normally reserved demeanor animated with excitement. "Efficiency is up 40%. Elena studied the production data with satisfaction. "And the enhanced version with the catalyst?" "Early results are promising. The modified antibodies show increased binding affinity across all tested species." A communications officer interrupted their discussion. "Dr. Maris, we've received a priority transmission from Outpost Horizon. It's coded specifically for you." Elena's heart raced as she accepted the datapad. The message was from Hana, brief but alarming. "Virus mutating again. Previous treatment losing effectiveness. Marcus critical. Need help." "I have to go back," Elena said immediately, looking up at Zara. The Solari scientist nodded understanding. I'll continue the work here. Take samples of the enhanced treatment. It may be more effective against the mutation. Cathari, informed of the situation, provided a fast scout vessel for Elena's journey. This ship is registered to a private trading company, she explained. It should not attract Federation attention. Thank you, Elena said sincerely, for everything you're doing. The feline ambassador's ears flattened slightly, embarrassment. We do what is necessary. Dr. Maris, as do you. The journey to Outpost Horizon took just over 2 days in the sleek Meridian vessel. Elena spent the time refining the enhanced treatment, hoping it would prove effective against whatever new mutation had emerged. The colony came into view much as it had before, peaceful from orbit, but as Elena's ship approached the landing pad, she noticed new quarantine markers surrounding the settlement, stark red beacons warning of contamination. Hana met her at the edge of the landing zone, her containment suit showing signs of extended wear. Elena, thank the stars. We didn't know if you'd be able to come. What's happening here? Elena asked as they hurried toward the medical center. The virus has changed, Hana explained, voice tight with exhaustion. About a week after you left, patients who had been responding well to the treatment began relapsing. New symptoms appeared, neurological now, not just physical, seizures, hallucinations, paralysis. Elena's stomach clenched with dread. And Marcus? Hana's pace slowed almost imperceptibly. He was among the first to relapse. He's been in and out of consciousness for the past 3 days. The medical center was even more chaotic than before, if such a thing were possible. Patients writhed on beds, some restrained to prevent injury during seizures. The air was filled with the sounds of suffering and the acrid smell of illness that penetrated even Elena's containment suit filters. Marcus was in isolation again, his condition visibly worse than when she'd left. His skin had taken on a grayish pallor, and occasional tremors shook his thin frame. I brought a new version of the treatment, Elena told Hana, removing a sealed container from her pack. It's been enhanced with a synthetic catalyst that should improve antibody binding and efficiency. At this point, we'll try anything, Hana said grimly. Standard antivirals, neural stabilizers, even some Arcturian remedies smuggled in by a sympathetic trader. Nothing's working. As Hana prepared the new treatment for administration, Elena studied the latest patient data. The viral mutation was indeed alarming. It had developed the ability to cross the blood-brain barrier, explaining the neurological symptoms. How widespread is this mutation? She asked. As far as we know, it's still contained to Horizon, Hana replied. But we've been cut off from most official communications. The Federation quarantine protocols shut down our long-range systems. Elena frowned. That's unusual. Typically, monitoring channels remain open during quarantine. Nothing about this situation is typical, Hana said wearily, administering the enhanced treatment to Marcus through his IV line. There are rumors that the Federation is implementing more extreme measures for affected worlds. A cold feeling settled in Elena's stomach. What kind of measures? Hana hesitated, then lowered her voice. Orbital sterilization. Complete neutralization of all biological material on a planet's surface. It's only been done twice in Federation history. Both times for non-sentient worlds with particularly dangerous contamination. They wouldn't, Elena said, but without conviction. The fear gripping the Federation was powerful enough to make even the unthinkable seem reasonable to some. Let's hope not, Hana agreed. For now, all we can do is focus on our patients. Over the next 24 hours, Elena monitored Marcus and the other patients receiving the enhanced treatment. The results were encouraging. Neurological symptoms began to stabilize, and in some cases, recede. Marcus regained consciousness briefly, recognizing Elena and even managing a weak smile before slipping back into sleep. Elena was recording these improvements when her ship's emergency beacon activated. She rushed to a communications terminal, accessing the incoming message. It was from Zara, her normally composed features tight with urgency. Elena, the Federation has discovered our operation. The Meridian facility was raided 6 hours ago. Cathari and several others were arrested for treason. I escaped with some of our research, but they're looking for us. For you, specifically. Elena's mind raced. Where are you now? Aboard a trader vessel bound for the Outer Rim. It's not safe to say more. Zara glanced over her shoulder nervously. There's something else. The Directorate has authorized emergency containment protocols for all heavily infected worlds. They're calling it compassionate intervention. But Elena, her voice faltered. It's sterilization. The cold feeling in Elena's stomach spread throughout her body. Which worlds? When? I don't know exactly. Soon. Days. Maybe hours. Be careful, Elena. They're monitoring all official channels. The transmission ended abruptly, leaving Elena staring at a blank screen. Mind whirling with implications. If the Federation had authorized sterilization protocols, Outpost Horizon, with its unusual viral mutation, would certainly be high on the target list. She had to warn the colony. But more than that, she needed to find a way to prove that the enhanced treatment was working, that there was hope, not just for Horizon but for all infected worlds. Elena found Hannah in the treatment ward, checking on patients. We need to evacuate, she said without preamble. How many transport vessels does the colony have? Hannah looked at her in confusion. Evacuate? That's impossible. We have 2 small transport ships, each capable of carrying maybe 50 people. There are nearly 5,000 colonists. We need to get as many people off planet as possible, Elena insisted. Especially those who are responding to the treatment. The Federation is implementing sterilization protocols for infected worlds. Horror dawned on Hannah's face. They wouldn't. Not a human colony. They would, Elena said grimly. Fear has overridden reason. We need to move quickly. As they began formulating an evacuation plan, prioritizing patients showing improvement and medical personnel with treatment knowledge, Elena's mind worked on a parallel track. Getting some colonists to safety was crucial, but it wouldn't solve the larger problem. The Federation's panic-driven sterilization program would continue, potentially killing billions across dozens of worlds. She needed a way to force the Federation to acknowledge the treatment's effectiveness, to choose hope over fear, and she needed to do it in a way they couldn't ignore. Hannah, she said suddenly, does the colony still have functional subspace transmission capability? Something that could reach multiple systems simultaneously? The emergency beacon network, Hannah replied after a moment's thought. It's designed to broadcast distress signals across all Federation frequencies. But it's limited to simple coded messages, not complex data. It doesn't need to be complex, Elena said, an idea forming. Just clear and undeniable. While Hannah organized the evacuation, Elena worked feverishly in the laboratory, compiling treatment data and patient outcomes. The enhanced antibody therapy was showing a 78% success rate against the mutated virus, far from perfect, but significant enough to justify continued treatment over sterilization. More importantly, she had identified a key marker in the blood of recovering patients, a unique protein signature that could be easily detected with standard medical scanners. If she could broadcast this information, any world with basic medical facilities could verify the treatment's effectiveness for themselves. As she prepared the transmission, Marcus appeared in the laboratory doorway, leaning heavily on a support frame but undeniably improved. Should you be out of bed? Elena asked, though she couldn't suppress a smile of relief at seeing him upright. Probably not, he admitted, making his way carefully to a chair. But I heard what's happening. The evacuation. The Federation's plans. Elena nodded grimly. We're doing everything we can. I know, Marcus said quietly. You always do. He studied her for a moment. "You're planning something risky, aren't you?" Elena hesitated, then explained her plan to hijack the emergency beacon network to broadcast the treatment data across Federation space. "That's definitely treason," Marcus observed, but there was no judgment in his voice. "At this point, I'm collecting charges," Elena replied with a wry smile. "What's one more?" Marcus's expression grew serious. "Let me help. I was a communications specialist before I became a colonial administrator, remember? I can modify the beacon to carry more complex data than it was designed for." Elena felt a surge of gratitude and something else, a reconnection with the brother she'd almost lost, both to illness and to their years of estrangement. "I'd appreciate that." Working together, they prepared the transmission package, treatment protocols, verification methods, and a simple message. "Hope exists. Verification code follows. Test you're recovering. Share results." "Ready?" Elena asked as Marcus finalized the beacon modifications. He nodded, hand poised over the transmission control. "It's been a while since we broke rules together." "Some rules need breaking," Elena replied, placing her hand over his. Together, they activated the transmission. The beacon surged to life, broadcasting their message across thousands of light years to every Federation world, colony, and outpost. Within minutes, responses began flowing in, confusion from some, anger from official channels, but most importantly, confirmation from medical facilities on infected worlds that they were detecting the protein marker in patients who had seemed to be improving. "It's working," Marcus said in wonder as the responses continued to accumulate. "They're listening." Elena allowed herself a moment of hope before reality reasserted itself. "The Federation will still send ships to stop us, to implement their protocols," as if summoned by her words. The colony's proximity alarms began blaring. A Federation dreadnought had entered orbit, its weapon systems powering up. "Is the evacuation complete?" Elena asked urgently as they made their way to the colony's control center. "2 ships got away," Hannah informed them, her face grim. "About 100 people, mostly critical cases and key medical personnel. The rest of us." She trailed off, looking at the tactical display showing the massive Federation vessel looming over their small colony. The communication system crackled to life. "Attention Outpost Horizon. This is Captain Loris of the Federation vessel Inexorable. You have violated quarantine protocols and endangered the Federation through unauthorized communications. Prepare for emergency containment procedures." Elena took a deep breath and activated the response channel. "Captain Loris, this is Dr. Elena Maris. The transmission you detected contained vital medical information about an effective treatment for the virus. Verification is already coming in from across Federation space." A pause. Then, "Dr. Maris, you are wanted for treason against the Federation. Your claims of a treatment are noted but irrelevant. Our orders come directly from the Emergency Response Directorate." "Vexorn," Elena muttered. Louder. She continued, "Captain, I respectfully suggest you check Federation medical channels. The treatment is real, and it's working. Sterilization is unnecessary and would constitute mass murder." Another, longer pause. Elena could almost feel the tension radiating from the massive ship above them. Finally, "Dr. Maris, we are receiving numerous communications from Federation medical facilities confirming unusual recovery patterns in virus patients. The Directorate is demanding explanation." Hope flickered. "The explanation is simple. Captain, the treatment works. Give it a chance. Look at the data we've transmitted. Verify it yourself." The next hour was the longest of Elena's life as the Inexorable maintained its position. Weapons still powered but not firing, while its crew presumably examined the flood of data now circulating through Federation channels. Finally, the communication system activated again. "Dr. Maris, this is Captain Loris. I have new orders. The Emergency Response Directorate has been temporarily suspended pending investigation. A medical team will be dispatched to your location to verify your findings directly. Elena closed her eyes briefly in relief. Thank you, Captain. Don't thank me yet, Doctor, Loris replied, his tone softening slightly. You're still facing charges, but perhaps not as many as before. In the days that followed, Outpost Horizon became the center of a new Federation initiative. Medical teams arrived from dozens of worlds, verifying the treatment's effectiveness and beginning large-scale production of the enhanced antibody therapy. The political fallout was substantial. Vexorn and several Directorate members were removed from their positions. Cathari and the other Meridians were released from custody, their actions reclassified as emergency humanitarian aid rather than treason. Elena found herself in an unusual position, both celebrated as the scientist who had developed the cure and censured for her methods. The Federation Council eventually settled on a compromise, official commendation for her medical breakthrough, coupled with a 5-year suspension from Federation research facilities for protocol violations. Could be worse, Zara commented when they met on Nexus Prime for the last time before Elena's suspension took effect. They could have thrown us in a penal colony. Elena smiled wryly. I think they realized that would look bad, given the circumstances. What will you do now? Zara asked. Elena looked out at the hub planet below. Thinking of the message she'd received that morning, an offer from Outpost Horizon to establish an independent research facility there, free from Federation oversight. Start over, she replied. Somewhere with fewer rules and more common sense. With your brother? Elena nodded. Marcus is staying on as colonial administrator. We have a lot of catching up to do. Zara's black eyes studied her thoughtfully. You know, the Solari Science Directorate has expressed interest in joint research ventures outside Federation space. If you were looking for collaborators, I'll keep that in mind, Elena said with genuine warmth. Later, as her transport prepared to depart for Horizon, Elena found Commissioner Ryder waiting at the docking bay. Not here to arrest me. I hope, she said lightly. Ryder shook his head. Just to say goodbye, and thank you. For breaking every rule in the book. For reminding us why the rules exist in the first place, he replied seriously. To protect life, not protocol. Elena considered this. Will the Federation learn from this, do you think? Or will we face the same fear and prejudice when the next crisis hits? Ryder sighed. That's the thing about progress, Dr. Maris. It's never a straight line. But yes, I think something has changed. The virus taught us that our differences make us stronger, not weaker. Human blood saved alien lives. That's not something easily forgotten. As her ship pulled away from Rosine Station, Elena watched the massive structure recede, the hub planet glowing beneath it. She thought about the strange journey that had brought her here. A deadly virus, a fractured relationship healed, a galaxy forced to confront its fears and prejudices. Humans had indeed found a cure in their blood. But the true healing had come from something less tangible. The willingness to reach across boundaries of species and politics, to risk everything for the belief that cooperation would triumph over isolation. The stars streaked into lines as the ship entered hyperspace, carrying Elena toward her new beginning. Whatever challenges lay ahead, she faced them with the knowledge that diversity wasn't just a buzzword in Federation politics. It was the key to survival itself. An unexpected gift, she murmured to herself, echoing the words of an ancient Earth philosopher. Hidden in the heart of crisis.